Script title: Your arteries age every day unless you do these 5 things. Script: Right now, your blood vessels are quietly turning into stiff, rigid pipes. Medical scans show that arterial aging actually starts in our 20s, long before a doctor ever warns you about your high cholesterol or hands you a prescription pad. Today, we are breaking down the 5 specific things you need to do every single day to keep your arteries young, flexible, and completely clear. By the end of this video, you will have a simple, science-backed daily routine to literally reverse the age of your vascular system and keep your heart pumping strong for decades. But whatever you do not skip the section on dental care, because there is a morning habit you are probably doing right now that is actively destroying your heart health. Let's get right into it. Most people completely misunderstand how their blood vessels actually work. We tend to think of our arteries as just dumb, hollow pipes, like the plumbing in your house. We assume that as long as we do not pour too much bacon grease down the drain, the pipes will stay perfectly clear. We think that doing a little bit of cardio and eating a low-fat diet is all it takes to keep the system running smoothly. But that is not how the human body operates at all. Your arteries are actually highly intelligent, active organs. They are lined with a delicate, incredibly thin layer called the endothelium. This layer is only one single cell thick. Think about that for a second. The only thing standing between a healthy, flowing bloodstream and a completely clogged artery is a microscopic wall of cells. This endothelium has one main job. It acts like a non-stick Teflon coating for your blood vessels. When it is healthy, it produces a master chemical called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide tells the muscle fibers in your blood vessels to relax. It tells them to expand. It makes the walls soft, flexible, and completely slick, so that blood cells, oxygen, and nutrients can glide right through without sticking. But here is the massive problem. Arterial aging is caused by something called endothelial dysfunction. This happens when that delicate one-cell thick lining gets damaged and literally forgets how to produce nitric oxide. When nitric oxide levels drop, your blood vessels lose their flexibility. They become stiff. They become rigid. That non-stick Teflon coating suddenly turns into Velcro. Microscopic tears start to form along the walls, and your body rushes to patch those tears with cholesterol and calcium, which eventually harden into plaque. This drives up your blood pressure, because your heart now has to pump way harder to force blood through stiff, narrow tubes. The scariest part about all of this is the stakes. You cannot feel your arteries aging. It is a completely silent process. You do not wake up one day with an aching artery. You do not feel the plaque building up while you are watching television or driving to work. Data from the famous Framingham Heart Study showed us that arterial stiffness begins way back in our 20s. If you do not actively tell your arteries to stay young through very specific chemical and physical signals, they will automatically default to hardening. You have to take control of this process. So let's break down exactly how to do that. Starting with the first major thing you need to master: the nitric oxide pathway. You already know that nitric oxide is the chemical that keeps your vessels open and flexible. But your body needs raw materials to make it. That means you need to front-load dietary nitrates every single morning. Your body takes the nitrates from the food you eat and converts them into nitric oxide. This is the master molecule that dilates and softens your blood vessels. If you want to keep your arteries young, you have to give them a massive dose of these nitrates right at the start of your day. How do you actually do this? It is incredibly simple. You need to eat a handful of nitrate-rich greens like arugula or spinach, or take a shot of pure beetroot juice before your first meal. Arugula is actually the absolute king of dietary nitrates. It has more nitrates per gram than almost any other food on the planet. Throwing a handful of raw arugula into your morning eggs, or blending some spinach into a morning smoothie, floods your system with the exact chemical precursors your endothelium needs to wake up and expand. We know this works incredibly fast. There was a fascinating study done on competitive cyclists. Researchers gave them a single dose of concentrated beet juice, which is packed with nitrates. Within just 45 minutes, the cyclists showed a massive drop in resting blood pressure and a huge increase in oxygen delivery to their muscles. Their blood vessels physically expanded in under an hour just from consuming the right plant compound. The most common mistake people make here is boiling their greens. When you boil spinach or kale, the nitrates leach out into the water. If you dump that water down the sink, you are throwing away all the vascular benefits. You want to eat these greens raw, lightly steamed, or blended, so you keep all those powerful nitrates intact. But fixing your diet will not matter at all if you're making this one mistake in your bathroom every morning. This brings us to the second step of mastering the nitric oxide pathway. You need to throw away your antibacterial mouthwash immediately. This sounds crazy, but your heart health is directly tied to the bacteria living on your tongue. When you eat those dietary nitrates from your arugula or your beet juice, your body cannot actually process them on its own. It relies on a very specific type of friendly bacteria living in the grooves of your tongue to convert those nitrates into nitrites. You swallow those nitrites, and your stomach acid turns them into the nitric oxide that saves your arteries. When you wake up and vigorously rinse your mouth with harsh antibacterial mouthwash, you are destroying that entire ecosystem. You are wiping out the exact bacteria your body requires to keep your blood vessels open. The mouthwash instantly stops the nitric oxide production line, which causes an immediate spike in your blood pressure. The science on this is absolutely wild. Studies show that people who use antibacterial mouthwash twice a day have a 2 to 3 times higher risk of developing high blood pressure. They are literally rinsing away their heart health in the name of fresh breath. The marketing companies have convinced us that killing 99% of germs is a good thing for our whole body. It is not. You need those oral bacteria. Switch to a gentle, non-bacterial rinse, or honestly, just floss and brush your teeth normally. Let your mouth's natural microbiome do its job so your arteries can stay relaxed. Once you have the nitric oxide flowing through your system, you need to physically push it through the blood vessels. That brings us to the second major thing you must do. Apply mechanical stress through Zone 2 movement. You need to spend about 180 minutes a week doing what we call conversational cardio. The reason this works is due to a physical phenomenon called shear stress. Imagine a fast-moving river rushing over the rocks at the bottom of the riverbed. The physical friction of that water polishes the rocks, keeping them smooth and clear of debris. Your blood vessels work the exact same way. When your heart rate goes up moderately, the physical friction of the blood rushing over the endothelium actually scrubs the walls clean. It forces the vessels to stay elastic. It acts like a mechanical signal that tells the cells, hey, we need to stay flexible to handle this blood flow. To get this benefit, you need to do fast walking, light jogging, or easy cycling where you are moving fast enough to break a light sweat. But you can still easily hold a conversation with someone next to you. You want to spread this out across 3 or 4 days a week. We see this all the time in longevity research. Experts look at centenarians, people living past 100 years old, who still have the vascular age of a 30-year-old. Their secret is not running ultramarathons. It is consistent, steady-state movement that constantly applies that gentle shear stress to their arteries. The biggest mistake people make at the gym is going way too hard. They think if they are not gasping for air, it does not count. But when you push into high-intensity Zone 3 or Zone 4 cardio, your body builds up massive amounts of lactic acid and fatigue. You get a great calorie burn, but you actually miss the specific, sustained vascular adaptations that happen during the gentle, continuous flow of Zone 2 cardio. Keep it steady, keep it conversational, and let the blood polish the artery walls. And while cardio is great, wait till you see what sitting at your desk actually does to your blood flow. This leads right into the next step. You have to break up your sitting every 45 minutes. When you sit in a chair for hours at a time, you are physically kinking the major arteries in your legs, specifically the femoral artery. Think about taking a garden hose and folding it in half. The water stops flowing. When you sit, the blood pools in your lower legs. The shear stress signal completely stops. The river dries up, and the endothelium goes quiet. Without that rushing blood telling the cells to stay flexible, the arteries immediately start to stiffen up. You fix this by simply standing up, doing 10 quick calf raises, or walking around your office for 2 minutes every single hour. It sounds too simple to work, but the data is undeniable. Researchers took a group of highly sedentary office workers and had them implement these tiny 2-minute movement snacks throughout the day. In just 8 weeks, they literally reversed signs of arterial stiffness in their legs. The trap most people fall into is thinking that a brutal 1 hour gym session at 6 a.m. cancels out 10 hours of completely uninterrupted sitting at a desk. It does not. Your arteries respond to what you do most of the time. You cannot kink the hose for 10 hours and expect 1 hour of water pressure to fix it. If you are realizing right now that your desk job might be working against your gym time, hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And we have got 3 more massive steps to go that will completely change how you treat your heart. Now we need to talk about the third big thing: becoming the calcium director for your body. This means mastering vitamin D3 and vitamin K2. Every day you need to pair your vitamin D3 with vitamin K2. Most people know that vitamin D is great for immunity and bone health. What vitamin D does is reach into your gut and absorb calcium from your food directly into your bloodstream. That is a great first step. But vitamin D is blind. It brings the calcium into the blood, but it has no idea where to put it. If you leave that calcium floating around in your blood, it will eventually stick to the microtears in your arterial walls and harden into plaque. This is where vitamin K2 comes in. Vitamin K2 is the traffic cop. It activates specific proteins in your body that grab the calcium out of your bloodstream and physically shove it into your bones and your teeth, where it actually belongs. It actively directs calcium away from your heart and into your skeleton. To do this right, you should take a supplement that combines D3 with K2, specifically looking for the MK7 version of K2, which stays in your system longer. You can also get massive amounts of K2 from fermented foods like natto, which is fermented soybeans, or from high-quality aged cheeses. The results of getting this right are incredible. The famous Rotterdam study tracked thousands of people over several years. They found that the people with the highest K2 intake had a massive 52% lower risk of severe aortic calcification. Their arteries were completely clear of hardened calcium simply because they had enough of the traffic cop vitamin to direct the minerals properly. The huge mistake people make here is going to the store and buying massive doses of vitamin D alone. They take 10,000 IUs of vitamin D every day, thinking they are doing a great thing. But without K2, they are just absorbing tons of calcium into their blood with nowhere for it to go, accidentally calcifying their blood vessels from the inside out. But the craziest part about calcium is where it actually ends up if you do not take it right. That is why the very next step is that you have to absolutely ditch isolated calcium supplements. For decades, doctors told everyone, especially older women, to take high-dose calcium pills to protect their bones. But here is the reality of how the human body processes those cheap pills. When you swallow an isolated calcium supplement, it dissolves rapidly. It floods your bloodstream with a massive spike of calcium all at once. Your bones are living tissue. They absorb minerals very slowly. They simply cannot handle a massive flood of calcium all at once. So the extra calcium has nowhere to go. It floats through the vascular system, bumps into the arterial walls, and sticks. Instead of taking a cheap pill, you need to get your calcium from whole foods. Eat high-quality Greek yogurt, eat sardines with the bones in, and eat lots of dark leafy greens. When you get calcium from real food, it is bound up in a complex matrix of fats, proteins, and fibers. Your body digests it slowly. The calcium trickles into your bloodstream at a controlled rate, giving your bones plenty of time to absorb it safely. Real-world studies have shown how dangerous the alternative is. Massive reviews of women taking high-dose calcium pills for osteoporosis actually showed increased rates of cardiovascular events. They were trying to save their hips, but they were accidentally clogging their arteries. The common trap is thinking that more calcium automatically equals stronger bones. It does not work that way without a slow absorption rate and cofactors like K2 and magnesium. The fourth major thing you must do is cool the inflammatory fire inside your blood vessels. This starts with fixing your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. Your arterial walls react heavily to the types of fats you eat. Modern diets are packed with cheap seed oils like canola oil, soybean oil, and sunflower oil. These are heavily processed and absolutely loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. When you consume too much omega-6, it promotes a low-grade inflammatory response throughout your entire body. Remember that delicate endothelium? Inflammation makes that smooth Teflon coating sticky. It acts like an adhesive, grabbing onto passing cholesterol and forcing it into the vessel wall. On the flip side, omega-3 fatty acids do the exact opposite. They are highly anti-inflammatory. They calm the endothelium down. They make the arterial walls slick, smooth, and highly repellent to plaque buildup. To fix this, you need to do a massive oil swap in your kitchen. Throw out the canola and soybean oil. Replace them with high-quality extra virgin olive oil for everyday use. Then, you need to actively increase your omega-3s by eating wild-caught salmon twice a week, or taking a high-quality EPA and DHA fish oil supplement every single day. When you look at populations in Japan, they have some of the oldest, clearest arteries in the entire world. Researchers have linked this directly to their diet, which naturally sits at about a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. In the West, our ratio is often a disastrous 20-to-1 in favor of the inflammatory seed oils. The biggest mistake people make when trying to fix this is going to a discount pharmacy and buying a massive, cheap jug of fish oil. Cheap fish oil sits on hot warehouse shelves for months. The delicate omega-3 fats oxidize and go completely rancid. When you swallow rancid fish oil, you are actually swallowing oxidized lipids, which causes more inflammation and does more damage to your arteries than if you had taken nothing at all. Always buy high-quality, third-party tested omega-3s. And the reason why fruit juice is just as bad? You will not believe how the liver processes it. That brings us to the next massive step. You must completely eliminate liquid fructose from your diet. When you drink liquid sugar, like a soda, an energy drink, or a heavily sweetened iced coffee, it bypasses all your body's normal digestive delays. It hits your liver like a freight train. The liver panics because it cannot process that much liquid fructose at once. So, it immediately converts that excess sugar into triglycerides, a type of fat in your blood. High levels of triglycerides act quite literally like microscopic sandpaper on your arterial walls. They scrape and damage the endothelium, creating the exact microtears that lead to plaque buildup. The rule here is simple. Never drink your sugar. If you want something sweet, eat a piece of whole fruit. When you eat an apple or a bowl of berries, the fructose is locked inside a dense matrix of fiber. Your body has to work to break that fiber down, which means the sugar enters your bloodstream slowly and safely. The liver can easily handle the slow trickle. But you have to cut the sodas and the fruit juices entirely. The science shows how fast this damage happens. In clinical settings, researchers have measured the blood of patients just 1 hour after drinking a single sugary soda. They saw an immediate, measurable spike in oxidized LDL cholesterol, the exact type of cholesterol that drives heart disease. The common mistake is swapping out soda for something that looks healthy, like pure agave syrup or store-bought orange juice. People think because it comes from a fruit or a plant, it is safe. But without the fiber, a glass of orange juice is just a massive hit of liquid fructose. It does the exact same sandpaper damage to your arteries as a can of cola. It is crazy how much modern marketing tricks us into drinking things that actively hurt us. If you are getting value out of this deep dive, take 1 second to subscribe. It lets me keep making these highly detailed videos for you. All right, let's look at the final, most important thing. The 5th major category is protecting your nighttime healing window. None of this daytime work matters if you miss the critical healing window that happens at 2 a.m. You absolutely must achieve what cardiologists call the 15% nocturnal blood pressure dip. Healthy arteries require a break. During the day, your blood pressure is up to help you move, work, and deal with stress. But when you fall into deep sleep, your body is supposed to drop your blood pressure by about 10 to 20%. This dip is non-negotiable. It is the exact window of time when your body sends out the repair crews. The endothelium uses this low-pressure environment to heal microtears, clear out debris, and regenerate cells. If your blood pressure does not dip at night, the physical stress on your arteries never stops, and the damage accelerates wildly. To make sure this dip happens, you have to stop eating at least 3 hours before you go to bed. Digestion requires massive amounts of blood flow and energy. If you eat a heavy meal right before sleep, your heart has to keep pumping hard to digest it, keeping your blood pressure elevated all night. You also need to keep your bedroom cold, around 65 degrees Fahrenheit. A cold room allows your core body temperature to drop, which naturally slows your heart rate and drops your blood pressure. We see the extreme danger of missing this dip in people with sleep apnea. Patients who stop breathing during the night constantly spike their adrenaline, which keeps their blood pressure high until morning. Scans show that these patients age their arteries twice as fast as normal sleepers. The biggest mistake people make here is having a drink before bed. A lot of people think a nightcap helps them sleep. While alcohol might make you pass out faster, it completely destroys your sleep architecture. It acts as a stimulant in the middle of the night, spiking your heart rate and keeping your nocturnal blood pressure dangerously high, completely ruining your healing window. The final step to protecting this nighttime window is something that sounds strange but is incredibly powerful. You need to tape your mouth shut at night. How you breathe while you sleep dictates your nervous system state. When your mouth falls open at night, you become a mouth breather. Mouth breathing triggers the sympathetic nervous system. This is your fight or flight response. It keeps you in a state of low-grade stress, elevating your heart rate and your blood pressure. But when you breathe exclusively through your nose, something magical happens. Your sinus cavities are massive reservoirs of nitric oxide. When you pull air through your nose, you pull that nitric oxide directly down into your lungs, where it instantly absorbs into your bloodstream. Nasal breathing increases nitric oxide absorption by an incredible 6-fold compared to mouth breathing. This massive flood of NO relaxes your entire vascular system while you sleep. To do this, you just use a tiny piece of porous medical tape. You place it vertically over the center of your lips right before you go to sleep. It is not meant to seal your mouth shut like a hostage. It is simply a gentle physical reminder to your jaw muscles to stay closed so your body naturally defaults to nasal breathing. Thousands of sleep specialists and high-level biohackers use this exact trick to instantly lower their resting heart rate and drop their blood pressure overnight. The mistake people make is using heavy, aggressive tape or fully sealing their mouth side to side, which causes panic. Just use a small, gentle strip. It will change the way your heart rests. Now, I want to give you one massive bonus tip that ties all of this together. If you really want to supercharge your arterial health, you need to introduce thermal stress using a sauna. Passive heat therapy is one of the most powerful vascular tools on Earth. When you sit in a hot sauna, your body has to work extremely hard to cool itself down. To release the heat, your heart rate goes up and your blood vessels dilate massively to push blood to the surface of your skin. Sitting in a sauna literally mimics the cardiovascular demands of a moderate workout, but without any of the physical pounding on your joints. Your arteries are forced to expand, flush with blood, and contract over and over again. It is like taking your blood vessels to the gym. The protocol is simple. You want to spend about 15 to 20 minutes in a sauna, ideally 3 to 4 times a week. The data on this is absolutely staggering. The famous Kuopio ischemic heart disease study in Finland tracked thousands of men over decades. They found that the men who used the sauna 4 to 7 times a week had a 50% lower risk of fatal heart disease compared to men who only went once a week. Their arteries were incredibly elastic just from the passive heat exposure. Honestly, the sauna is basically a cheat code for your heart. Drop a comment below if you already use one, or if you are going to try it out. I read all of the comments and love seeing who is actually taking action. So, how do we put all of this together into a real daily action plan? You need a simple 1, 2, 3 routine that you can start tomorrow morning without feeling overwhelmed. First, your morning routine. When you wake up, drink a large glass of water to rehydrate your system. Go to the bathroom and absolutely skip the harsh blue mouthwash. Just brush your teeth. Then, go to the kitchen and make sure your first meal includes a vascular trigger. Throw a large handful of raw arugula into a bowl with your eggs, or blend a handful of spinach into your morning protein shake. You are instantly giving your body the nitrates it needs, and you are keeping the tongue bacteria alive to process them. Second, your daytime routine. Keep your D3 and K2 supplement right on your desk or somewhere you will see it, and take it with your lunch. Swap out your cooking oils for olive oil. Most importantly, set a repeating timer on your phone or your computer for 45 minutes. When that timer goes off, you have to stand up. Do 10 quick calf raises to pump the blood out of your lower legs, or just pace around the room for 2 minutes. You have to unkink the hose and get that shear stress moving across your endothelium. Third, your nighttime routine. You have to draw a hard line with your kitchen. Put down all the snacks and stop eating 3 full hours before you plan to sleep. Turn your thermostat down to 65 degrees so your core temperature can drop. Right before your head hits the pillow, put that small piece of medical tape over the center of your lips. You will breathe through your nose, flood your system with nitric oxide, and guarantee that your blood pressure dips exactly the way it is supposed to. You do not have to do all 10 of these steps perfectly tomorrow. The human body is highly adaptable, but it takes time to build habits. Just pick one single thing from this list to start with. Maybe you just start by throwing away the mouthwash. Maybe you order a high-quality K2 supplement today. Maybe you just set a timer at your desk. The most amazing thing about the human body is that it is never too late to start. Your endothelium is not a piece of dead plastic. It is living, breathing tissue. Your arteries are actively rebuilding and repairing themselves every single day. They are just waiting for you to give them the right materials and the right signals. Take control of the process today. Give your heart the environment it deserves, and watch how your body rewards you with decades of unstoppable energy.